Kevin Franke is speaking out, you guys. He's talking about things that have gone on in his family and what he is trying to do in order to prevent this in the future. He's talking about people like Jodi Hildebrandt not being able to do what they're doing and that regulations need to be tighter. It's just so crazy to hear Kevin actually come out and talk, because at the beginning of all of this, everyone was looking at Kevin very negatively, wondering why he wasn't arrested alongside Ruby, though Kevin has said multiple times that he had no idea what Ruby and Jodi were doing with his children behind closed doors. People have definitely looked at him a bit sideways since everything, but he is out here seemingly trying to clean up his image, so we are going to spill on all that is going on. Kevin Franke has been in the press a lot lately, as he's been trying to get across to Utah lawmakers that he's an advocate for child welfare reform and that he wants to see some serious changes made. And I do think that what he is speaking on is all things that should be happening and that he is making valid points in a lot of what he is saying, but people are certainly judging that this is coming from him, given everything that's come out about his family, despite the fact that he says he was unaware of what Jodi and Ruby were doing to his children behind closed doors when he was living away from his family after Ruby kicked him out of the house, which he's spoken out about the fact that he agreed to this because he was convinced by Jodi that he should not be around his family, he should not be communicating with his family. But just to refresh everyone's memory, Kevin was part of the 8 Passengers family vlog channel. Him and his wife Ruby vlogged with their 6 children and were called out on several occasions for being too strict on their children. There were plenty of times that they had talked about ways that they punished their children, and also shared how they at one point sent their oldest son to a wilderness behavioral camp. They were proud of their parenting and openly shared parenting advice to other parents. They stood by what they were doing, and it soon became known that the family had been in contact with a woman named Jodi Hildebrandt, who was basically a self-named counselor who gave advice to families. She had the most outrageous beliefs when it came to parenting, and it really did not have any sort of grace for children being children. It seemed like she just thought that everyone in life should be perfect, although looking back on everything, I think she just was evil. She was just filled with evil. I think she knew exactly what she was doing, and she just had this sick motive. The whole thing is truly just so insane, but I will say that when it comes to Ruby and Kevin, Ruby got so involved in her parenting advice group called Connections that she basically was more attached to Jodi than her own husband, and eventually she had Kevin move out of the house. Kevin said he did not have contact with his children while they were in Ruby and Jodi's care, and he was not aware of what her and Jodi were doing. After their son managed to escape, Ruby and Jodi were arrested last summer for what they were doing behind closed doors. People were very skeptical of Kevin and what he knew and how he was able to just not talk to his children for basically a whole year. After Ruby and Jodi's arrest, though, Kevin was fighting for custody of his youngest 4 children, which he is still trying to seek custody. This is still an ongoing case. Shari, Ruby, and Kevin's oldest daughter had previously spoken out against both of her parents and Connections, but after Ruby's arrest, despite there being some rough patches, Shari did seem to be cordial with her dad and her brother Chad, and the 3 of them would attend hearings together. Shari is now speaking out in statements with her father on the current issue that he is advocating for, which, like I said, people still don't like Kevin and think that he needs to be held accountable for things such as not checking in on his kids when Ruby had them, and also just the fact that he was already so strict before too. So they wish these statements were coming from anyone else, but he started speaking out this summer on these issues, noting that several laws need to be changed.
I showed up at the Capitol today to talk to lawmakers because my family has been devastated by what 2 women were very easily able to carry out. And they were able to navigate our laws and take advantage of loopholes that exist, all from the coaching of Miss Jodi Hildebrandt. And those laws need to change. All of the ways that they were able to navigate those loopholes need to be exposed. They need to be talked about, and we need to address these issues out in public.
And he hasn't stopped talking about this, as he's spoken out multiple times and even revealed how Jodi trained Ruby on how to act if police came to investigate them, and how there needs to be more that is done in these investigations. And he even talked about how Jodi was coaching him on what to do and telling him that the government was bad. They want to split up families, which, like, their family was already split up because Kevin was living outside of the house. So I don't know how that was a scare tactic, but it was.
Not answer the door, not speak with authorities, DCFS or police, just remain silent. And as long as everybody remains silent, then within a specified amount of days, typically 30, the case closes by itself. It was frustrating for me to hear the story of police officers. As they said, they were standing on the front porch and they could see the children and they could see my former wife through the window, ignoring them. And they said, even with all of the reports, all of the red flags that were given to them by our oldest daughter, Shari, and by our neighbors, they still could not intervene. They were on the phone with a judge, waiting, and the judge finally said, nope, I'm not comfortable with this. You cannot intercede. And so this could have been stopped. Another thing that I was terribly frustrated with was that even though I was in separation, that I was not contacted by police authorities once. Now, DCFS was trying to contact me repeatedly, but again, I was being indoctrinated just as much by Jodi as Ruby was. And I was being coached the same way. They want to rip your family apart. They want to destroy your family. This is what government does, she would say. And so I didn't answer the phone.
And we heard from Ruby's family and Shari that there was nothing more that they could be doing, that the law would not allow them to help the children, even though they knew that things were not good. They didn't know how bad things were, but they just knew that they shouldn't be around Ruby and Jodi, but there was nothing that they could do. And that is what Kevin is really emphasizing right now, that the police could not intervene until it was too late, and that needs to change, that there needs to be better laws put in place to ensure that children are protected before something really bad happens. And he also wanted to say that there needs to be changes made to this life coaching industry and what Jodi was doing, and this really needs to be regulated.
I'm also working with legislators to create new legislation, the first of its kind in this country, to begin regulating this shadow industry called life coaching, that currently is completely unregulated, has no standard of practice or ethics, and these individuals can almost literally completely destroy a person's life, their livelihood, their families, and walk away with zero repercussions.
In a lot of what Kevin is saying, he is talking about the laws set in place. He's talking about blaming Jodi for manipulating him and Ruby into believing the things that they did. And a lot of people are in the comments of these videos telling Kevin that he is at fault as well. He isn't innocent in all of this, telling him that, you know, to hear what Jodi was telling them to do and how they were punishing their children even before he moved out was truly just crazy. Like, for them to be like, yeah, let's send our son to a wilderness behavioral camp. Yes, let's take his bed away because he pranked his brother. Like, these are not normal punishments for what their children were doing. Their children were being typical children, and they were being told that they were selfish and deceitful and that they were sneaky liars and that they were like little devils. And the fact that they ate this up, like, hello? Obviously, she preyed on people that were very desperately seeking out help with their troubling children, but people are not that sympathetic to Kevin in the case that he is pleading here in terms of like, oh, I was manipulated by Jodi, she had us doing all these things. People are just like, you should have known that what she was saying was absolutely crazy and you shouldn't have ever been doing those things ever. I do think she knew who she was preying on, and Kevin was opening up about having these what if thoughts like all the time about everything that's happened.
It is a lot to deal with every day. The questions of what if, what could have been, what should have happened, what I should have done, what others should have done. It haunts you. And it's my struggle and others to learn how to deal with that and to do what we can to make the best of our lives moving forward. And part of my healing is being here today, to open my mouth, to put myself in this position that's terribly uncomfortable for me. But if I can make a difference, then I want to do that.
And Kevin was also talking about how his side of the story isn't really out there yet. He hasn't really talked to the press. This is really the first time that he's coming out to talk to the press, and that his older children will be speaking out, making it seem like they were going to like advocate for his character.
They're certainly justified and entitled to think whatever they want. All of the details regarding what happened with my family and my experience aren't out. And the narrative that is quite popular in the media and on social media today has many inaccuracies. And when the time is right and when I'm ready to speak, I will, and my adult children will tell what really happened. But the bottom line is many of us were deceived and betrayed. And that led to the disaster and the tragedy that impacted my children.
Now, I will also add that this week, Shari made a big announcement, and that is that she has written a book. She announced on Instagram the title, which is The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom. And she captioned it, "For the last year, I've been working on a project close to my heart, and I'm now ready to announce that my memoir, The House of My Mother, is coming out on January 7th, 2025. After years of silence, I'm finally sharing my story in my words. This book will cover the painful journey and experiences of growing up under intense public scrutiny. For years, millions tuned in, captivated by our lives, unaware of the darker realities that unfolded behind the scenes. And for the first time, I share my journey of finding myself outside of my childhood home. The House of My Mother is my story of resilience, truth, and finding my own voice amidst the chaos." People have been extremely supportive of Shari and are happy that she's been able to express herself in this way. And this comes after she's been calling out Lifetime for the movie that they've made about the family titled Mormon Mom Gone Wrong, the Ruby Franke story, which I still can't believe this is really something coming out and that the names are all the same, all the kids' names, all the characters. It's just so disturbing in the way that the family wasn't contacted about this. They aren't getting anything from the use of their names and likeness. It's just insane. Shari has urged people not to watch, and hopefully they listen. And I think that if you really want to know what's gone on, then Shari's book is the direction that people should be going in. But that is what's been going on surrounding the Franke family as of right now. Let me know what you guys think about the fact that Kevin has been speaking to lawmakers, the fact that Shari is supporting him in that, and this book that she is coming out with. Let me know your thoughts. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.